Hey everyone, today we are going to cover leads, contacts, and opportunities. So these three sections here within the CRM category within Marketo Measure and the settings area. So I'm first, and then I also want to touch on the JavaScript data. So and how JavaScript works and functions and best practices there. Uh, Really, the goal of this call is for anyone who's new and wants to understand how data is really getting ingested into their CRM and how that all really aggregates and populates there. And I just want to kind of give some insight around that. So we'll start with the JavaScript. There's not really a setting for the JavaScript inside the settings area. It is this script right here. Again, I'll put this link in the description below so you can access this. But if this is on the site, you have done some additional setup as far as getting your domain in place, and you have your account. You've identified that this is your domain and all that set up. We will start funneling the data that is collected by this JavaScript into your Marketo Measure instance. Our best practice is hard coding. You can see that we do offer hard coding and tag management systems where we can apply this. But I really think this is the hard coding is the best. If you can put that at the highest level as you can, that's great. Uh, there are plenty of users of Marketo Measure who due to their company's setup and how they want to manage the scripts on their site, they use a Telium or Google Tag Manager of some sort. And at that point, we do still highly encourage that this script is at the top of all the scripts that are in there. Really, the goal, right, is we want it to fire as quickly as possible. We want it to acknowledge when people hit your web page. We want it to fire and acknowledge when people fill out forms and take action. So the sooner and the fastest that this can fire, the faster it can fire, the better for you and the data in which you get. So within that, we do have some GDPR information here as far as compliance. We are GDPR compliant, um, but you can also set up scripting to wait for consent and things of that sort. I'm not going to dive too much into that into this video, but we do have that ability. I say more often than not that it just depends on where you're located, how you're using it, but that is a possibility. You can get creative with the script and it's firing, but really the main takeaway here is we want to ensure that it's at the header of your site, or if it is within a tag manager, that it is the highest that it can be. All right, so let's now move to the lead, contact, and opportunities. You'll notice here we want to make sure when we go to the lead that enable lead touchpoints is marked as yes, push touchpoints to the lead fields. So on a previous call, you would hear me talk about how we create upon the package install, we create fields on the lead, right? And then we push data to that. This does not mean that we're just going to somehow magically change data inside your CRM, right? This is just pushing the data points that are specific to what we've created and how we've programmed the system. And then we'll push data to case fields. This should be marked as no because it's just not usually used. And then we'll push lead source, lead to lead source. Again, this is typically marked as no, as we're not acknowledging that. We're capturing data through our touch points. Okay. And then we get to this piece. Now, this PostLC is how many touch points that do you want to see inside your CRM? Again, Marketo Measure is collecting all the touch points. Okay. But we acknowledge that not, or Marketo Measure acknowledges that not everyone has the database size to hold all the touch points. And so some clients, some users will unlock this and move it to 10, others will move it to 100. It just really depends on uh, your database size. and how much you can actually hold, how much data can you hold inside your CRM. So I mean by database. Once that's there, you can then press save. So kind of the gotcha on this is if you press the lock key again, it just resets back to 0. If you press save with the 100 there, it's going to save the 100 while it's unlocked. Okay, so that's, you'll figure that out as you use it, but just keep that in mind. So the contacts, similar fields here, enable contact. Touchpoints is yes, push touchpoint data to the contact fields. Again, these are the fields in which we've created through the package that you've installed. And so we're going to push data to those. That's exactly what we want. And then again, you would want to do whatever, very similar numbers to what you did previously. It can vary for the reason of if you don't push leads into your Marketo, or I'm sorry, from Marketo into Salesforce, well, then you don't need to do PostLC, right? So it's just, there could be variance there, but if you have like a one-to-one sync, typically it's going to be about the same. And again, the goal there is just to show you touch points after lead creation. So if you do not do this and you pull a report, you would see first touch lead creation, and then the next touch point you would see is op creation. You wouldn't see any of those middle touches as far as that engagement. So if an opportunity is never opened, you don't really see any engagement after that. If you see first touch lead creation and then you enable this to 10, you would see the 10 most relevant touches, right? So bear with me here with this example. So if we have, let's say, in total 15 touch points. So the first touch point is FT, second one is, sorry, this is 10, right? Let's say. The second touch point is, so your first touch point is FT, your second touch point is LC, and then you have a total of 13 other touch points after that. Well, our system, when it's set to 10, is only going to show you the 10 most relevant touch points. Okay, so there's going to be 3 touch points that are going to be living inside of our Discover dashboards, but they will not live in your Salesforce reporting, right? And those are the touch points between really the LC. There's 3 touch points that happen, and then there's 10 most relevant touch points after that. So those are in total 15 total touch points. So that's how that works. You can kind of gamify it a bit if you want, but if you just feel like you're not getting the data that you really want as far as touch points after lead creation, this would be the area you would want to go and maybe open this up a bit and see how many touch points are there. Now, opportunities. The opportunity section really is about the BAT, right? So enable opportunity touch points. That is buyer attribution touch points, or BATs, as I'll refer to them. Now, when you're talking about BATs, all touch points show up. So there's not a post LC when it comes to BATs, right? You'll have FT, LC, you'll have every middle touch in between OC and close. Like you're going to see everything there. Post LCs are solely for let's rephrase it to maybe the engagement journey, right? There's not, the person has not bought yet, right? But they're engaging with you. That's what post LCs will be about. So with this, these are kind of the standard set and default settings here. This is all good. They enable pending touch point. So this will be if you're looking at a dashboard or if you're looking at touch points and you see that an opportunity has not closed yet. The last touch point that is there will say pending. So it basically is telling you this isn't closed, but an opportunity is open and it's impending. The pending can then move, right? So if opportunity is created, the opportunity creation touch point is also your pending touch point. And then a touch point happens after that. So now you have an opportunity creation touch point, and then you have a pending touch point. And then another touch point happens. So then you have an opportunity creation, you have a touch point, then you have a normal, then like a BAT, a touch point, and then you have your pending touch point. So you can see how that just continues to push out until the close happens. Once the close happens, that pending will change from pending to close. It doesn't create the new touch point unless something has happened there. The default opportunity amount, this is great. So you can default it. It's a neat concept. I will say no one uses this. It's not a common use case, but it's nice to have. Custom opportunity amount field. This good amount of people use, right? There's plenty of people, there's plenty of companies out there that don't use the standard opportunity amount. And so you can insert the API name here. So I just come in here and I insert the standard or the custom opportunity amount field. This field cannot be a formula field. Okay. For those of you that understand Salesforce, you'll understand why that's no go. The custom close date field, again, if you add in a close date or create a date field that's custom to your opportunity. I've seen this with different users of Measure where though they create the op, they create it really early, right? And because they created that op super early, that's not a true indicator of op creation. It's more of that the account has shown some form of engagement, and now we're targeting that account, right? So the true creation date of the op could be somewhere else within the opportunity object. And again, at that point, you apply that here, and then it tells our system to read that field rather than a different field. So this really helps a lot because you're not having to write some kind of script or something inside of your Salesforce instance, but you can just tell Marketo Measure, this is the data points that we want to read, and we will begin to read those, which is really nice. If you do that, and let's say you have to do that, and you need it to run retroactively, definitely work with support on that. And make sure you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's in that sense. But you'll want to work with support from that sense. So hopefully this has been super helpful for you. Again, the goal here is if you're new to the system and you're just trying to figure it out, or maybe you've been inherited this, you're just trying to work through what's been set up. This is really the purpose of these. I'll put the links that I discussed down below in the description. And please feel free to leave any comments. Thanks.